Welcome to Hope Now, not only weekends, a Hope Church Memphis podcast. Faith for more than just the church building. Real hope lived out right now. Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the Hope Now podcast, not only weekends. We are continuing our conversation with John Carroll about city leadership and just the positive impact that it's having here on Memphis. We want to focus not only on just the negative of our city, but the positive. And last time we left off on just, man, it was great. We talked about urgency and how some people don't have the luxury of waiting for things to happen, that they come and it is urgent for them. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about that, and just, we get a lot of negative rap. What would you say to someone who speaks only negative about Memphis? Like, how can we help shift mindsets? What are stories that we have that can show that we're just more than these negative statistics?
Yeah, right. So I think one of the things that I would say, just being in this work, thinking through it, different kind of stuff, and because sometimes people just say like, oh, well, you're just a super optimist, and so you don't understand different kinds of stuff. So one thing is just understanding, like in humanity, that some people are glass half full, right? Like some people, and honestly, if we're the body and we all come together, that there's some good things in that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have, looked both ways across the street because somebody said, hey, there might be a car coming, right? And it's probably saved my life before, instead of just being like, I got this, you know what I'm saying? And so, having some of those skills and looking for that and into that space. And so, and then I think that some of the things is trying to figure out, like, you're not going to turn a pessimist or someone who, they don't want to call themselves a pessimist because it seems such a negative thing. It's just like, hey, I'm a realist, or I'm just saying it like I see it, or I'm just I'm just trying to be thoughtful about whatever. Like and so honoring those pieces of the conversation and realizing what are the gifts that they're bringing into that. And I think that, man, I would say, somebody, but golly, you are so good at identifying the needs of our community. In what ways are you meeting those needs now? Yeah. Plain and simple. Like, because I would be like, if you're so good at finding them, how can I learn from you on how to meet them? And I'm not trying to trick them or bait them into something and get them to say, well, I guess I'm not doing anything. Yeah. Oh, well, then you should be a positive person now. Like, it's just going like, help. It was going like, oh my gosh, well, golly, your heart is about this crime issue, or your heart is about this homelessness issue, or this hunger issue, or this education issue. You have such a heart for this. God has really pulled something into your heart here. We got to get you involved. Yeah. We got to get you've got a unmet need of making a difference in someone's life. That's right. And so let me help connect you into that space. Yeah. Because I want to be really clear. That's the exact same thing I should say to the optimist. Yes. The optimist does not get a get out of serving, making a difference card just because they believe in this place. That's right. We need them. Actually, you think this place is so awesome. Well, great. How are you helping continue it on? How are you helping the people who aren't in that bucket get to that next space? How are you doing whatever? We can't just assume just because they're positive that they're actually giving financially, time-wise, doing those kinds of things. Yeah. Because you can be a really blissful, hopeful person as well. What really matters is, do you walk it like you talk it? Yeah. Yes. Right? And I think that whether you're talking negative, you're talking real, you're talking positive, it all does sort of, now, what are you doing?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The whole heart seems to be about empowering people to take action and take the next step that they actually can.
And just honoring, right? Like, hey, obviously God has put something on your heart and into that space. And so, like, God designed our bodies in some pieces, right? You get goosebumps because you get excited, and the other times your heart starts beating fast because you get scared. Yeah. It's all designed. We're humanly designed to be fearful, to be, excited, to laugh real hard. And humans are pieces and glimpses of more of that different aspect. And so, like, they bring all that community together, and that's how we continue to lead well and coach well into that space.
So when you have a presence on social media, like, you really don't get to control who comments, or is it negative or positive feedback. And so how do you guys handle
if you do get any negative feedback, how is that handled from a social media standpoint?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize. So our collective media stuff is the largest media outlet in the Mid-South, right? So the number of people, the reach, the different kinds of stuff. I mean, you've got to go to like Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta to even get to a for-profit public media company to get to the kind of reach that we have. So we've dealt with everything, everything you can imagine. We have all the DMs, we have all the whatever, and we have all the positive stuff too. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, the positive way outweighs the negative. And we've made mistakes before too, like talking about stuff and like, oh my gosh, this is great, and then not realizing, oh, well, there's a consequence to doing that positive thing for someone, right? Like whatever that is. Oh, this new business is going right there. Well, that's not really great for the whatever it is, right? So like sometimes it's like, oh, they're actually pointing out some of those different kinds of things. I mean, obviously, the people who are super hating, awful, vulgar, that kind of stuff, we just delete it and we ignore it. And into that deal. The other thing is you start to realize, again, thinking about the percentages. So we survey 500 Memphians, 500 people in the county, and 500 people in the DMA every 6 months. And we ask them all sorts of questions that help us understand how positive they are. We've been doing that since 2017. Here's the deal. 5 to 8% at any given time of our DMA thinks that Memphis is like the greatest place in the whole world, right? And it's awesome. Another 31% thinks it's incredible, right? 30% almost always doesn't like it. And the farther you get away from downtown, that's where those people get to whatever. Here's the deal. That is true for every other major city in our country. 30% living in that area go, I don't whatever, because they live in the county for a reason. They don't come whatever. The issue is the 30% in that middle that say, I'm curious, I'm interested, I need a guide, I need a help, I want to do the things downtown, but I've never done it before. And there's a well, I want to be safe. I just don't know where to park. I'm assuming that I can go downtown, have a great time, and get home just fine. But I just don't know exactly where to park, exactly what to do, exactly. And so that's just a personality base. They just need to do it the first time. And so we need our passionate people to be guides and say, come with me, let me show you, let me whatever. Instead of saying, oh, you should just do it. You just kind of whatever. Because like, there's so many things. I mean, we obviously know this in discipleship. There's so many things that we do in the church that is like, oh, you don't know how to do this? Like, let me show you how. We're very intentional about this kind of stuff. And people and their personalities need that in other areas. And that's how we really guide into that space. And so like saying that about the negative is that we just like, people will be into that negative thing, but we just try to put more emphasis on the voices that aren't saying something on social media. How can we create an opportunity for guide them where they can start expressing their positive hope, right? And to join those other 30%. Because I think that when we do that, somebody's gonna win the middle third.
That's right.
Is it gonna be the pessimist or is it gonna be the optimist? And I think that the battleground is for the majority, right? And make a deal. It's not that you're ever gonna get 100%.
That's right.
On anything. You know what I'm saying? And so, but we're gonna figure out. It's like, do we try to win that middle third? And honestly, it's almost always a third. You know?
Your concept of being a guide is very helpful. When I hear people talk negatively about Memphis, afraid to go downtown or whatever, like I recently, like a couple months ago, said to a person, "Hey, you like oxtails?"
You like what?
Oxtails.
Oxtails. You read oxtails?
No.
I haven't had that. You like beef? Oh yeah, I like beef. I said, look, let's have dinner at Curry and Jerk, and let's get some oxtails, and then we're going to go to a Grizzly game.
Yeah.
Now, this is the person who I don't want. Good. So
that sounds like
that's
a
all
very
we did.
practical.
They need a guide.
And then they enjoyed, you've been downtown, and it's night, and we're walking back, and it's safe. And it really does begin to change people's perspective as you guide them.
Yep.
And they say, well, he's not afraid. And they're not saying any of that until in the aftermath.
Right.
2-3 days later. Now they are beginning to say, okay, this curiosity that, is not what I heard.
Well, and I think that's the real power of social media right now. But we have to put ourselves in the right role. when we as optimists or as leaders in our community, when we put ourselves in that hero role where our social media is all about, look what I did, look where I sat, look how much fun I had, where the goal is almost is like, you should be envious of me, then promoting, whether you're intentional or not, that promotion of that stuff is ultimately repelling to our human spirit. Yeah. So they're not going to follow that and go, well, I'm going to go do those kinds of things. But if we really take, it's such a buzzword now, and there's gazillions of people doing it, but if we really take the real honest thing and really encourage it and tell people like, hey, you're really good at social media, you should help influence and guide other people on how to invest and enjoy in this city. And so instead of just go do exactly what you're doing, do all that kind of stuff, and then say like, hey, here's how we do as a family, how we go from Collierville to downtown to eat dinner, enjoy a game, and get back on a school night. Guide us instead of just, here's like, show us, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, not everybody's a teacher, not everybody's a guide, but we as the body need to find our guides, and then we need to, our job is to say, go be the best guide forward in these kinds of spaces, right? Like when you've got all these people who are volunteering and making a difference, whether it's over in, North Memphis or wherever, we need to go to that group and say, who are our guides? Yeah. You need to follow them on social media and see who's already doing good social media. You say, hey, I need you to do what you're doing for real estate or for home decor or for cooking or for parenting. I need you to do it for volunteering. I need you to do that. And then you need to say, and we need to share it. We put a megaphone on that. We need whatever. We need to make sure that other people are seeing, and you're guiding them. Like, well, you're supposed to go pray in a closet, and you're supposed to don't let anybody know. And I'm not trying to brag about what I'm doing that's good. No. You are light and salt. You are showing the other people the way. And that's what we need from our community to do that, whether it's serving, whether it's enjoying, right? Investing or enjoying, we need the guides to come out. And that wins the middle third, right? Yeah. It wins the middle third.
Absolutely. Could you share some positive impact stories with us for your work over the years?
Yeah.
I coughed.
Can you share some of your positive impact stories of just your work over the years?
Yeah, I know, when Pastor called me about this, he was like, man, I want to hear some individual stories and some different kinds of stuff. And I think we have a bunch of them. Yeah. And I think, we have story after story of people who come on a service trip, heard about interning here a summer, and then coming to doing a program for a year. And now they've been, not only have they moved here, but they, found their spouse here. They became a teacher here. Now they're a school principal and those kind of things, like whatever. We've got people that have, we convinced to move here to be teachers and different kinds of stuff through the Teach 901 stuff. We've got people that are donating now and giving back in ways that whatever. But I think one of my favorite things is just, again, our Choose 901 alumni program. Yeah. And one of the things that I want to tell really specifically is tell the story of one of our alum who, she grew up, in the Soulsville neighborhood area, in significant poverty. Yeah. And she was the first person in her family to graduate from high school. And so not only was she the first person to go to college, she's the first person to graduate from high school, right? And so she went off to college and went down to Atlanta to Spelman. And as she's down there, going to school, we came down to visit her and other alumni that we had down there, right? And so, and we were having this rooftop party in Atlanta, and talking to people, and a lot of these people are seniors in college. And one of the things that's really interesting is that as I was talking to her about this stuff, I said, okay, well, now what's your major? She said accounting. I said, now where have you applied for jobs? And she was like, I applied at Home Depot, Coca-Cola, and Chick-fil-A. And I said, well, all those things are in Atlanta. Like what have you applied for in Memphis? And as we got in that conversation, what we realized is that she hadn't applied for anything in Memphis because she didn't know anybody who had any jobs in Memphis, right? No, and you start to think about it. Here's a crazy stat: 86% of Fortune 500 hires already had a friend or relative at that company before they applied. Yeah. So if 400 people apply for a job, they may interview 10, 8 out of 10 of those people have got some you got a 2 out of 400 chance to just even get interviewed
Yeah.
oftentimes, because everybody that's there is like, well, hey, this is my nephew, this is my cousin, this is my roommate, this is whatever, will you do it? And people like to hire, you do
Yes.
this, I'm sure you do all the time. You got a friend, got a connection. I'm trying to build a team. I need trust for efficiency. We
Yeah.
say all that time, trust equals efficiency. You're going to build a team, trust, different kind of relationships. So they need advocates into this space, but not only advocates. So I asked her why she applied those places. Well, my roommate interned at Home Depot.
Yeah.
My boyfriend,
That's, you know.
works at Coca-Cola. Everybody applies at Chick-fil-A because it's Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I'm like, well, what have you ever thought about working at AutoZone? And she goes, well, where? She's like, I don't want to sell auto parts. I'm like, well, you don't want to sell lumber either, like whatever. And she's like, well, I'm going to work in their corporate office. I'm like, well, their corporate office is in Memphis. And she's like, where?
Yeah.
Now, this part blew me away. So I'm getting on my phone, and again, all of you guys probably know what I'm talking about, but I think one of the most beautiful the two most beautiful views in the world are from downtown Memphis. One is coming from Arkansas, coming across the river and looking at that downtown.
Yeah.
The other one's sitting on the bluffs and watching that sunset.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
So
unbelievable.
beautiful.
Thank God Arkansas is so flat, right? It's so beautiful. But I bring up this picture of downtown Memphis because I'm just trying to find the AutoZone headquarters. And I bring it up, and I'm looking. I go, so look. I said, that's AutoZone. She goes, what city is that? She had never been to Arkansas.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, so many of these marketing materials are aimed towards business people and different kind of whatever. You're growing up in Memphis and you're just go whatever. You've never even seen
Yes.
these pictures of all these beautiful marketing kind of stuff, whatever, because it's not designed for you.
That's right.
So not only did she not know where AutoZone was headquartered, but she didn't really even understand like that. She had been in downtown, but she had never seen it from that other side. And she was like, that city's so beautiful. I was like, yeah, it is, right? Whatever. And so, but then even getting her to apply, right, we had to go fight tooth and nail to get her name pulled out of a pile into whatever. Now, if you went and talked to the CEO of AutoZone at the time and I said, hey, do you want to hire strategically from Memphis and help whatever? Yes, 100%. But you get into an HR thing of Fortune 500 companies, like, hey, we got 400 applications, we got whatever. And so trying to get them to pull that needle out of a haystack to hire really strategically is really, really hard. Well, deal is we get her hired. You know what ends up happening? She gets her friend hired. And now, years later, we've got dozens of people
Yes.
working all over AutoZone because who gets hired at AutoZone?
Yes.
86% already have a friend or a relative or all this kind of stuff. And here's what ends up happening. Those people end up not staying in Atlanta.
Yes. That's right.
Because here's the deal. If you go K through 12 in any public school in our county, right now, every kid that walked across the stage is a $230,000 public investment of tax dollars. City, county, state, federal money, okay? $230,000. $1.54 billion just walked across our public high school graduation stages.
Yeah.
Where is that going, right? And I'm telling you, we're exporting a lot of that investment. And how are these other cities growing?
Yeah.
If you keep giving them hundreds, millions of dollars of decades-long investment, and you still import that talent into other
That's
places, those cities are going to be just fine.
Yes.
Because they're getting whatever. We're not recruiting back enough of that talent. We're not retaining it.
Yes.
And so when she stays here, she's into that space. Now, the next step of that story, though, is, well, now I've got a job and now I'm making money. How do I navigate being in a community where everyone else in my family doesn't have?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I didn't know anything about Memphis and I didn't think that I had a pathway in Memphis, but now that I do, now that I have some success guilt. Now the first person in my family, whatever.
That's a real
And
thing.
in our friends who are coming out of pop, like we think about most of the people who we're friends with in church and that kind of stuff, we are receiving money from parents. We are planning on passing money down, right? When you're coming out of poverty, you end up passing money up.
That's right. Yes.
And so you make 80 grand. You're not thinking, oh, I need to save for my children. You're immediately going, oh, I need to help mom get a phone bill. I need to help mom get whatever. Or I got to help brother
Yes.
get this. And and people don't understand the complete. They're like, well, they've got plenty of money. No. This single person in this family is now supporting
Yes.
in a significant, loving
Yes.
way, right? And that's what families do. But it's really hard to overcome that without a critical mass. You've got to have more people who don't need. And so what ends up happening is then all of a sudden becomes a threat of like, well, maybe I should go back to Atlanta. Because honestly, it's a little easier to live there. And I could have a nice car and a nice apartment and not feel so guilty that my family doesn't. Or maybe I should just move out to the suburbs and not live back in my neighborhood and not whatever. And so we wonder why our neighborhoods don't actually, well, these kids keep graduating from high school. We see all these kids keep going to college. One, 2/3 of them we're exporting to other cities. And then the third we keep here, they're actually, the fastest growing populations of Fayette County is African Americans. Who are coming out of South, North, and Southeast Memphis and are getting their jobs, and they're moving out into that space. And so it's keeping the poverty levels in those kinds of spots. And so then we have to, back to what we said earlier, are we going to serve or solve poverty? We've created thousands of nonprofits and churches and expectations to just keep serving the poor and serving the injustice in our communities instead of creating a tipping point of change and solving it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. As we wrap up, this has been so informative. Like, I've really appreciated just all of the stories and all the numbers. Really, like it's easy to just sit back and when you hear this,
that ROG,
when you hear
right?
the
We said the first
specifics,
half of this
Like
thing. So
you
like you said,
now.
yeah. Like you were talking. I'm so glad I went to your
seminar.
Seminar. Your other podcast.
I think it would be really helpful. Just as you work with different generations, sometimes like the younger ones get a bad rap from the older ones, or maybe the older generations don't have a lot of trust in the younger generations, but you're getting to see leaders being developed. What can you say to Memphis specifically about the future of our leadership? What are you seeing in the people that you're training and developing?
Man, that is such a great question. And I think part of it is understanding how generations are linked together. And when I created Choose 901, I actually I've been an itinerant speaker and done some different stuff. I used to do this talk called Generational Desires. And it came out of trying to sell products to millennials and trying to understand what they were thinking. And that's what made me a good recruiter of millennials into that space. But I had to understand what their generational desire was and how that was impacted by how their parents and different kinds of stuff. And what we look back in is basically saying is that millennials that we know are what I call the enjoy generation, because every decision that they get to make in their life, typically, if you are an educated and not in poverty, that kind of stuff, and even a lot of people aren't educated and not whatever, they make a lot of decisions like, well, do I enjoy an iPhone or an Android, right? Do I enjoy sushi or steak? Do I enjoy an apartment or a house, right? Like their complex decisions are what do I enjoy vacation or staycation, right? That's their things. Now, if you go back 2 generations to their grandparents were what I call the safety and survival generation. They're coming out of the Great Depression, the Great World Wars. The decisions they had to make were, is this more safe or less safe? Is this more secure or less secure? And so you see them get a job and stay in it. You see them get out. I mean, my grandparents are 101 and 99. They live in the same house since 1961. Wow. They had the same jobs the whole time, right? They are still there into that space. And so they have, they've washed the Ziploc bags and all that kind of stuff. But they, when they started, there weren't Ziploc bags, right? And so they made those kinds of decisions. And what they did was because they withheld from self-pleasure so much, they set up their kids to go, well, I need to go fulfill myself. Yeah. I grew up without. And I grew up, we could go to Florida, but we need to be careful because the world could fall apart at any time. Because they grew up like that way. Right. And every hint of a war was a reminder of safety and security first, right? Well, then their kids grew up at the pinnacle of the world financial situation. And they didn't have, it's a Cold War that was going away, so they didn't have all this other kind of stuff. So they got to decide, how do I fulfill myself? And they were reliving all the things that they didn't get to do. So they said, well, I want to get a bigger house. I want to get a bigger car. I want to get another car. I want to get a boat. I want to get another house. I want to get another wife. I want to get another life. They just start trying to fulfill. And what they did is that they tried to fulfill their kids. Here's a Game Boy, here's a Nintendo, here's a PlayStation, here's a summer camp, here's a whatever. They kept trying to fulfill their kids. Their kids are so fulfilled, right, that they get these two things that are, all right, I want to have fun, and then it's whether or not were they fulfilled to the point of thinking that they're entitled and that they deserve this?
Right.
Or were they fulfilled to the point of feeling blessed and they want to go create and cultivate for others, right? Do they want to consume and criticize what everybody else either doesn't have or complain about anything they're lacking? Or do they want to go create and cultivate because they know I've been so blessed and I want to use that enjoyment. I want to go invest my life and I still want to have a blast while I do it. And so I think that's how we got to millennials. Now we're at Gen Z, right? And Gen Zs are kind of going, hey, there's a lot of BS that happened back in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really love the fact that grandma and grandpa aren't married.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're sitting here looking at that like, that's not great, right? Or they don't really, they don't really look at this kind of thing or that kind of thing and go like, I can see how, this person who had every house and every boat and every vacation isn't as happy as they said they were going to be, right? But at the same time, they're dealing with a different thing that everybody else didn't have to, is that their grandparents or their parents only had to impress 10 to 100 people, right?
It's true.
They feel like they have to impress millions of people.
World.
And the anxiety that they're living in that space. And so some personalities are like, just forget it, I'm not doing it, it's too overwhelming. It's not that they don't want to be on social media, it's just they don't want to feel the pressure to do that kind of stuff. They're coming into the other, and then the other side is that, well, I'll live out loud and live into this space. What I see is I don't see anything any different other than humanity trying to figure out what is their role in this world. And I think that what they need right now more than anything is millennials and baby boomers and Gen X to come in and be able to guide them and say, and be really honest and say, hey, this is what I got wrong.
Right.
If I could do it again, I would do whatever. And even when they're like, I'm not listening, like whatever, you just need to say it, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you can say, hey, this is the wisdom that you need here. They need some Proverbs, but they don't necessarily need you to read Proverbs. They need you to live it.
Yes.
And they need you to pour it into their life some. And they need you to be in that space and you need to walk with them. And then when they decide to walk down a different path, you need to still walk with them and you need to go like, okay, well, I'm still going to walk with you, or I'll be right here if you decide to come back down from that path and into whatever. Let them live a little bit, because here's the thing we get to all live with, ultimately, no matter what, God's sovereign.
Yeah.
So no matter what they decide, no matter what you didn't do in your past or what you wish you could do if you had more money or had more time, or no matter what mistake you made or no matter what good thing somebody else did, or even whatever the greatest thing you did in your life, God's still sovereign.
God is sovereign.
And so he's still in control. He's still in whatever. And so we are just trying to do, like, we want to make it on earth as in heaven in the sense of our little humanity, and just kind of go like, I want to try to make it a little bit better. And if I got it wrong, I think God will go, man, you were trying so hard to make it better. You didn't make it that much better. Yeah, that's what I feel like he's going to say. You didn't make it as better as you wanted to.
But you stumbled upward.
I'm so proud of the way you live trying, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, like, because ultimately our greatest impact on this earth is just a minuscule fraction to what heaven on earth is actually going to be like. But our goal, though, is to make it on heaven as is earth. So even that 1% is the best life possible.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the best life possible.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Guys, I think what I'm wrapping up with is that it's not about perfection, and there's all kinds of stuff that will go wrong, but there is progress that we can take. And it just, I think we've said this before, it just encourage you to just show up, find someone that's gone ahead of you that can help walk you through it. There's all kinds of information out there. If you want to take a look at city leadership more, I'm sure John would be glad to.
Yeah, we've got all our websites. You can check us out, follow us on social. You can find me personally. But kind of what you're saying, I always say is that people have patience when they can see the progress on our problems.
That's right.
And that's our job, is to be light and salt on that progress that's happening. I thank you guys for letting us shine some light on some progress in our community.
Of course. Yep. Thank you guys so much for being with us again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening to Hope Now. Hope for more than just weekends. Join us next week for a new episode. Connect, share, and worship with Hope Church on social media platforms at Hope for Memphis or at hopechurchmemphis.com.